Buenos días, mi gente. Welcome to La Primera Vez. I'm your host, Christina Reid, and this is the digital talk show that gives you the chance to get to know your favorite Latinx celebrities and entertainers. Today, we're joined by the fiercely funny, wildly talented, just all-around superstar, Miss Jasmine Marie Garcia.
Christina, I'm taking you home with me.
Take us to Orlando.
Okay.
Tell us about what it was like growing up there, what you remember most, what you love most about your hometown.
Well, in Orlando, I just knew about being Cuban. So I'll start with that. So I grew up with my mom and my grandparents. I grew up with a single mom who worked her ass off 24 hours a day.
Shout out to mommies.
Right, love you. She's in the next room because how Latina am I? My mom still lives with me. That's how it works, you know?
Period.
Period. But yeah, I had a great childhood. I was into movies and TV from birth. I feel like because my mom worked all the time, the television was my babysitter. So I grew up, falling in love with TV and wanting to do that, but not really seeing anybody who looked like me doing that unless I was watching a telenovela. But even if I was watching telenovela, if I was watching Dos Mujeres Un Camino, it was still everyone this big. And I was like, okay, so can I do this? Because if I'm watching my TV, it's really just, we're playing maids and bullies and things like that. So I was like, I don't know about this. And it wasn't until I saw John Leguizamo in Freak that I was like, oh, I can do comedy. I was understanding his jokes on a level, that I was just he understands my life, And then I saw Real Women Have Curves with America Fiera, and I was like,
shout out Miss America.
Right? I was like, she is me. I am her. Because in that movie, how critical they were of her weight and everything. And I was dealing with that too. My grandmother was taking my food away. And I was like, you better stop.
What is it with grandmas?
Right? But I held on to my own and, my food and got my way to LA. And then I realized I was half Mexican. Do you love that I just have them on the ready?
I want to know how many more props there are going to be.
Those are just those two. That was it.
Do you have a favorite part of, those cultures? That's such an awesome blend of two different
Besides our food, both of our foods.
Right.
It's funny.
That's my go-to answer.
I love the food. I love the people. I love just meeting anybody from any Latino country and being oh, we're related, especially being in America. We're such a melting pot.
You and I are probably related. I hope we are. You got to be my long lost cousin somehow.
It would make sense. We connected from the get. So I was like, how do I get that top? How do I do that in these nails? I almost did them and I was like,
Well, don't look too close because I do need a fill. So we're just gonna.
Girl, I've been gluing mine on. I've been doing press junkets and just me and Sierra, I got glue in my bag. And I'm just if you pop one off, let me know.
That's how you know that y'all are real friends at this point. Sisters.
Exactly.
I love that.
No, for real.
So at what stage growing up did you realize I want to shift my focus on entertainment and I want to pursue this career?
Oh, I was 8 or 9. Making people laugh and making people happy is just that's my love language. So I was I want to do this and I want to do this forever. You realized quick that there are a lot of people that knew somebody that helped them get here. And I knew nobody, not a soul. I had a friend who auditioned for a manager. I got with that manager and they brought me over here for a competition called Best New Talent. I got nothing. I won. I was really shitty. So
they're speaking themselves right now.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope they are.
Let's get them on the line and find out.
So I'm gonna start Googling. I've been really lucky. It's not just you book a job and then you're rich and famous and you never have to do anything.
No, you're out here, really putting in the hustle, making yourself a multi-hyphenate any way possible. So, this story is, I'm sure, going to resonate with all of our fans because I'm sure everybody has really big dreams and knows that they need to, don't always have the easiest path to get to that. So thank you for sharing that. Do you remember what your first ever acting gig was?
Yes. It was I was an extra in Monster with Charlize Theron and Christina Reid. I was in the skating rink. And then I did a movie, and I won't say the name of it because it was the worst experience of my life, but it sucked because it was like an all Latino cast, and like they were like anything that all the horror stories they tell you about being in Hollywood, I got from that experience.
No.
And I was like 19, and I was like, I don't know if I can get past this. Like, is this how it's always gonna be? And then from then I got Liv and Maddie. Like, I mean, it was years in between that, but then that was one of the best experiences of my life, and I was just like, thank you.
I'm curious, since, you know, the beginning of your career, you know, Liv and Maddie, Disney, you know, we're not really seeing as much like Latinx representation in terms of like, you know, children's media or just like, you know, growing up. I feel like the only person I had growing up was Taina.
I was gonna say Taina.
You think I won't let you die because I'm a woman? Well, I'm tough.
Like, I mean, that was what I was like, whoa, like she looks like me. The main character, in the woman who plays her name is Christina Reid.
I was about to say that's Christina too. Yeah.
Yep. So I was like, yeah, I feel like a soul tie to this woman. But I mean, that just goes to show, you know, so many of us are so few and far in between. So your work on Disney is not going to go unnoticed to a little girl from Orlando who is also Cuban and Mexican. So
yes.
We got to give you your flowers, girl.
I do it for you. I do it for you. No, yeah, and it's insane to still hear, you know, you say that and have other people say that to me, or have like kids come up to me and like grown people come up to me in like tears when they meet me, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, I mean, I have a cardboard cutout of myself. Like,
okay, so that is another. That is going to count as a prop. That is going to count as another prop. On my block, you did the damn thing. Like,
oh, thank you.
Watching you go from guest star to series regular was just like so inspiring to watch. So can you tell us a little bit about that transition, what it was like?
Blessed to have that experience, because a lot of people don't get work at all. So it was funny because I almost named my corporation Professional Guest Star Productions, because I was like, I think this is just where I'm gonna be for life. But after season 1, I just remember them calling and being like, you know, we got picked up. And I was like, great, can I be a series regular now? A closed mouth doesn't get fed. And that's another thing about, you know, who we are as a culture too, is like we get complacent because we're just grateful for what we have. And it's really hard for us to ask for more because, you know, we don't feel like we've earned it. And B, it's like not been given to us. It hasn't been an opportunity that we've had. So as much as I'm grateful, I'm like, I'm gonna ask for more.
Closed mouths don't get fed. So negotiate that salary, ask for that opportunity, because that's where you're working twice as hard and you deserve it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like another thing is like that salary thing is like, remember that gets halved and then you have to pay like a million other people that work for you. So when you think like we're rich and famous, we're not. This room isn't painted. I don't have curtains on this one. Like I drive a Civic. Like don't let those articles fool you.
Uh-oh.
It's facts.
How much of your own experiences, your own, you know, persona were you able to bleed into Jasmine? How close are you guys?
Oh, like 98%. I think the only 2% that's missing is I'm not as overtly sexual as she is. Like the girl is, you know, she's thirsty.
Jasmine says everything that I think in my mind, but won't say out loud. And that's saying a lot because I say a lot of things out loud.
As you should. As you should. I want to know what you're thinking. So reading it, I was just like, I saw this girl that, you know, just really wore her heart on her sleeve, was all this personality, but I also saw through her because I'm very much that class clown, that person that, you know, will say the joke before I become the joke. And that's Jasmine. It's a self-deprecating thing that like isn't probably the best, but like it happens. And with Jasmine, it's like, if I say that, then you can't hurt her. So she builds up these walls and she gives you this persona in order for you not to see who she really is and hurt her, because her heart is like 10 times bigger than her personality. But I also know from experience that those who are the most, you know, comedic or the most loud and funny are typically dealing with the most at home. So when season 2 came along and they allowed me the opportunity to, you know, show you my father and what, you know, taking care of him, like that meant everything to me. And I really felt like that moment, that scene allowed people to not find me as annoying as they did, or, you know, they saw more layers to her or why she is the way she is. And I'm just grateful for that.
So what was it like when you started to see, you know, this overwhelmingly positive fan response to On My Block? Because I remember a world before On My Block, and then now and then, you know, once On My Block dropped, like that was it. My little sister was like, you need to watch the show right now. And then, you know, I've been a fan ever since. So what was that like?
Well, first of all, shout out to your little sister, because
shout out Maya, the visionary, the young
Maya.
visionary.
I love you. I love you. Thank you. We owe everything to the fans. Like, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, everything. And like, again, there's so many people more talented than I am that are so much more creative, and they're not given the same opportunities that I've been given. So it's just one of these things where it's like, it's still just a very humbling experience and grateful to be in this, you know, this spot where I am right now.
So what has changed for you all as you know, begin this victory lap? It's season 4, it's the final season. What has changed and what has stayed the same?
I think there's a sadness to know that there isn't another one coming for us. Having to say bye to Jasmine was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But what stayed the same is our connection. I'm sure you've done a million interviews and they're like, yes, my cast is like my family and we're all very close. And it's such bullshit. It's such bullshit. But like for us, it's like ridiculous, like how close we are. We're like the kind of close where we don't just sit there and like say nice things about each other. People will be like, okay, so we're playing this game and it's like, who's the most likely to like forget their lines? And like most people are like, oh no, we're all like very professional. And we're like, Jason.
No.
I love that about us.
What does it mean to all of you that, you know, you get to be a part of a project so special with, you know, beautiful Latinx faces at the forefront? You know,
it's hard to have a show like that because we're not a monolith and we all don't have the same experiences. So it's tough because our shows are so far in between that everyone wants to feel represented, but somebody who has, you know, Panamanian, you know, descent aren't going to feel like the same way we do as Mexicans or as Puerto Ricans, or you know what I mean? And they're not getting the same representation. And I get that. And it's like, it's so tough to feel like you're trying to represent an entire culture that's so different on one show. But we've been embraced by everybody. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are a Black and brown show.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't get to see that often. You get one of us or nothing.
Right.
So that's another reason why I feel like we all connected so quickly, is because we've been othered for so long that we get to be the head of our own stories. Like, I've been the best friend to a white lead my whole career. So the fact that like you get to hear my story and people who look like me's story and people who look like the people that are watching the damn show in the first place's story, like that's just, I mean, it's about damn time. It just makes sense.
So can you tell us about what full circle moments that you've had in your career thus far that have made you feel like, wow, okay, I'm on the right path?
I feel like it happens like all the time.
Wow.
Well, this season I was number 1 on the call sheet, and that has never happened in my whole life. And to see that was, I kept them all. I'm like such a scrapbooker. So like, right. So like I keep all my things.
Mixed with hoarder. I'm
right. It's just a different word. It's just like some of us are just, you know, a little bit more like neat about it. That's all. But that being on the same call sheet as Viola Davis,
wow.
Being in the same scenes with her, talking to her, like I think about it all the time. I was going through a really hard time. My mom had a heart attack and she needed triple bypass surgery when I was shooting How to Get Away with Murder. And Viola sat with me and she was talking to me about it and how, you know, she was going to pull through and everything. And I was just like, couldn't believe this moment because it was such like an incredible moment and such a sad moment at the same time. Then you realize that life is always both of those things. Going to the MTV Awards, because like it was such a ritual in my house to watch that together.
Yep. And
I just like dreamed of being there. So the fact that we were there, we were nominated against Lady freaking Gaga.
Oh,
like,
who's that?
What?
Who's that? Is she gonna be
what?
a star one day? I don't know.
I don't know. Never heard of her. She won't last long. But yeah, like it was. I would just look around and just like I think like people like act like it's like every day, and I'm just like, you know, like I'm always just a kid in a candy shop, like in this business. Like it's just it's surreal to me because I always dreamed of this. And I feel like I manifested this from a young age. Like, I think I was always like daydreaming about, like, I would be in the car and I'd be like, I'm in a movie and this is what's happening now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, always just daydreaming about what I wanted to do. So I'm just so lucky that I could go back and tell like 9-year-old Jess, like, you're gonna do it. Just like, you know, don't take no for an answer and stick it out. And it's gonna be, you know, some of the hardest years of your life, but it's gonna be worth it. And that to me is priceless.
9-year-old Jess. The goal is that one day when we end up on the path that we are meant to be on, that every day is meant to feel like a full circle moment where we're like, you know what? Shout out God, because I was meant to do this, and, you know, shout out my hard work too. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of the gems with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Christina. This has been so much fun. I feel like we were just hanging out. Yep. Like, I'm like, did we do an interview? I was like, I'm gonna ask you questions now. Like, I need to know more about you. I feel like I'm the ridiculous friend that just talks about herself.
No, never.
Next week, tune in and I'll be interviewing Christina. But no, thank you so much. And I just, to all the fans, thank you so much for supporting us. We would be nothing without you. I know I wouldn't be anything without you and your support. But also I'm going to ask you for things. So follow me on Instagram at Jess_M_Garcia. There's a lot of Jessica Garcias. It's a very common name, so I needed those underscores. Twitter, I am at Jess Marie Garcia. And on TikTok, because that's the brand new thing, girl, I got like 2 million followers in there. I'm doing things. I'm doing things.
Charlie D'Amelio, who?
At Jess Mar Garcia. And please watch Go Off on, it's a Netflix YouTube show. It's me and Jolisa Calderon. We have our own comedy sketch show. We have incredible guests. Right now we have one episode up with Julio Macias and Lee Rodriguez. So please check that out. You can go to Still Watching Netflix, their YouTube channel, and the episodes are there. And they've curated an entire season of last season. So you can watch that, and that will be on every other Tuesday. So please watch us and support us.
Boom, you heard her.